Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here Wednesday, June 4th. Another one. Your Jacksonville Jaguars have made another roster move. They are signing, according to Jordan Schultz, Dennis Gardeck. And this is a really interesting signing. Obviously, in the last 24 hours or so, they've been very busy. They brought back DeJuan Smoot, who we talked about earlier today. They also brought in Trenton Irwin, who is a guy who has spent a lot of time in the league, wide receiver with the Cincinnati Bengals. And they let David White and Keelan Robinson go. We've talked about all that stuff a little bit here so far today. And now they bring in Dennis Gardeck, who really is a fascinating player, a really interesting player to sign at this point in the offseason for the Jaguars. And one thing I think you can say about all three of these moves, the guys they've brought in, Smoot, Irwin, Gardeck, they've all contributed on special teams. And I don't think that's lost on the Jaguars by any stretch of the imagination. And they're all veterans, right? Trenton Irwin is 29, Gardeck is 30, Smoot is 30. And so these are guys the Jaguars have seen what they've seen throughout rookie minicamp, OTAs. OTAs are ending this week. We'll have the final media availability at OTAs tomorrow. And then you get into mandatory minicamp next week. I think the Jaguars wanted to get these guys in, these veterans that they have interest in before mandatory minicamp. Get them out there on the grass and see what they can bring to this football team after kind of watching things over the last month or so between rookie minicamp and OTAs. And so I think that's the timing of it all. And then you look at Dennis Gardeck specifically. He plays like a banshee. Edge rusher, outside linebacker, undersized. He came in the league as an undrafted free agent out of Sioux Falls in 2019. Sioux Falls, really impressive. He's got the long hair. He's got the tattoos, runs around and plays like an absolute banshee. He's a special teams ace. He's a special teams captain. When you look at him specifically as a defender, he, again, undersized edge player. Not going to line up with a hand in the dirt very often. Usually going to be in a 2-point stance, rushing outside the tackle, but he also has some reps where he kicks inside and rushes from a 2-point stance there. He has the ability to drop into coverage. You see that a fair amount throughout his tape. And as a rusher, he has the speed, the quickness, the flexibility to threaten the edge, to threaten the outside shoulder of the tackle. And because he has that speed and the ability to do that, he also can counter inside with an inside spin. He can cross the face of a tackle and get inside of them that way with his speed and quickness, explosiveness. So he is a bit of a change-up as compared to a Josh Hines-Allen, a Trayvon Walker, DeJuan Smoot, Emmanuel Ogbah, who the Jaguars signed right after the draft from a pass rush standpoint. He's a change-up. Smaller, more athletic, just quicker type of player. And look, Josh Hines-Allen, unbelievable athlete. He can win in just about every way you could imagine for an edge rusher. Trayvon Walker, unbelievable athlete with big size. Emmanuel Ogbah and DeJuan Smoot, big boys at edge who can kind of move across the line of scrimmage a little bit. But Dennis Gardeck, he's that changeup. And the kicker with him, the reason he probably was available on June 4th, coming off of a torn ACL, Week 7 last year, he tore his ACL playing against the Chargers, and that's the second ACL tear of his career. I believe 2020 was also cut short by an ACL tear. Not sure if it's the same leg. Either way, I think if the Jaguars are signing him right now, that means they probably feel pretty good about being able to get him on the practice field from an injury standpoint. When you look at his production in Arizona, again, he was beloved in that building. But from a numbers game standpoint, they were up against it a little bit. they brought in some dudes, Josh Sweat. They retained Baron Browning. They've drafted young guys in the draft the last few years. So you can understand why they decided to move on. But for the Jaguars, to me, he's competing as a special teams ace, potential special teams captain, a guy that Heath Farwell is going to love. He's competing to be that change-up rusher who can drop in coverage, who can rush off the edge, who can move around a bit. And to me, it doesn't really impact any of the four rushers we've talked about so far. Again, Josh Hines, Allen, Trayvon Walker, Emmanuel Ogbah, DeJuan Smoot. It does potentially impact like a Jalen McLeod. You know, I'm a fan of Jalen McLeod's game. You don't get to see much in the way of like, is this guy ready to contribute as a rookie throughout OTAs on the field? And we've only seen 3 practices so far. You just don't see a ton of it. Maybe 4 practices if you include rookie minicamp. The coaches probably have an idea of what they think of him so far, at least from a work ethic standpoint and like mental preparedness, mental, how hard he's working to make sure that he knows what he's doing. So to me, that's where that competition is probably. Dennis Gardeck, Jalen McLeod, Yasir Abdullah a little bit. I think Miles Cole is a long shot to make this roster. I would be pretty surprised if he makes it here in Jacksonville this year because he kind of is in the mold of the top 4 guys they have, and the top 4 guys they have are much more ready to contribute. And, Josh Hines, Allen, Trayvon Walker, stars, Emmanuel Ogbah, DeJuan Smoot, veteran presences that know how to get the job done. Miles Cole, I don't know where he fits in that picture. But Dennis Gardeck fits as a special teams ace, as a change-up pass rusher. I don't know if he's a lock to make the team. Probably isn't a lock to make it. He's going to have to compete out there to get on this roster and make the 53. But if he does, there's no reason to believe he can't be that change-up. I mean, last year, he only played in 7 games. He only had 200 total reps, 96 pass rush reps, and he had 12 pressures and 3 sacks. 3 sacks against the Rams, by the way, in 1 game. But last year was by far, not his only year of production. In 2023, 42 pressures on 242 pass rush snaps. That is awesome. 6 sacks. He's always been productive, right? He's always had a higher than 10% pass rush win rate. In 2020, he had 7 sacks. In 2023, he had 6 sacks. In 2024, he had 3 sacks. Obviously, all of them came in the same game, but he was getting pressures in those other games when he was given the opportunity to rush the passer. He flies around the football field. Again, he can make plays in coverage. Look, we're not sitting here saying this is a starter. This is a guy that, why the heck is he available? He's available because he's a rotational player, a special teams guy who's coming off an ACL. But I think he's definitely intangibly rich. I think you keep looking at these guys, everybody they bring in is intangibly rich. They contribute on special teams. They bust their butt. They're good for the community on and off the field. So I'm here for it. I'm here for competition. I don't think that the rookies taken later in the draft should have a free pass to the roster. And I don't know if that's what this is. But you're starting to look at the numbers. They're starting to get pretty deep when it comes to edge guys. Again, I think Dennis Gardeck, Jalen McLeod, Yasir Abdullah, all in a similar bucket in terms of the path to making the roster. And Gardeck probably will have the upper hand if he can come in healthy. I imagine they wouldn't be signing him right now if they didn't think he was relatively healthy. So, yeah, Jags make another move. Dennis Gardeck added to the defense. DeJuan Smoot added to the defense. Trenton Irwin added at receiver. We'll see what they've got. Will they be out there tomorrow? Don't know. But I would definitely imagine they'll be out there for mandatory minicamp next week. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.